analyzing a hyperbola from its equation. So before we show you the equation of a hyperbola, let's remember from the graphical form, there's a whole bunch of things that we can identify from the graph. We can see which axis is called the transverse axis. We can identify the center of the hyperbola. There will be vertices that the graph goes through. There will be co-vertices, which help us identify this box through which diagonals can be drawn. The diagonals will be the asymptotes of the curve. Asymptotes are those lines that the curve approaches but never quite reaches. There will also be foci, just like there were foci in an ellipse. All right, so now we'll look at the equation of a hyperbola. X squared over 25 minus y squared over 9 is equal to 1. First of all, we know it's a hyperbola because we have an x squared and a y squared term. We have the number 1 and we have a minus. If there were a plus sign instead of the minus, this would be an ellipse. Next, we can see that the x squared term comes first. Therefore, the transverse axis will be parallel to, or actually equal to, the x-axis in this case. The center of this hyperbola is 0, 0, because there's nothing in the numerators along with the x and the y squared. So therefore 0, 0 is our center. We can start by graphing the two vertices. The vertices will be the square root of 25, which is underneath the x squared term. So 5 and negative 5 are our vertices. Our co-vertices will be the square root of the number underneath the y squared term. So we're looking at 3 and negative 3. We can draw this box that goes through these vertices and co-vertices and draw the diagonals. These diagonals are actually going to be our asymptotes. At this point, since I have them graphed and I can see my rise and my run and my y-intercept is 0, I can use just the slope of this line, rise over run, so I know that my equations are y equals negative 3/5 x for the line with the negative slope and y equals 3/5 x. Those are the equations of my asymptotes. The center of my curve is 0, 0. The transverse axis, remember, is x. My vertices, again, are 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. My asymptotes are, again, plus or minus 3/5 x. And what I would like to do is to figure out what are my foci. So I'm going to use the equation c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's the equation we use for a hyperbola, where c is going to be the foci, the distance from the center. Well, we'll substitute in our a squared, which is 25, and our b squared, which is 9. We'll add these numbers together, and we get that c is equal to the square root of 34. And we can figure out the square root of 34 and graph them. Those are our foci. And now to finish off our curve, we're just going to start at our vertices and head toward those asymptotes. So here is our hyperbola. X squared over 25 minus y squared over 9 is equal to 1.